Hey everyone, welcome to Midas Letter Live. I'm Ed Milewski. We got a great show today, but first, here's Ricky with the news.
Thanks, James, and here are the headlines moving markets today. James E Wagner Cultivation Corporation announced a net and comprehensive loss of $2.32 million, or 3 cents per share, in their Q1 2019 financial results. Revenues were up from Q1 2018 by more than 12,000% and up from Q4 2018 by more than 250%, from $170,665. The company highlighted several improvements made during the quarter with respect to their operations and facilities, and looked to take advantage of those advancements and begin scale up in its second facility. Aurora Cannabis Inc. has agreed to terms to acquire 51% ownership interest in Gaia Pharm LDA, a licensed applicant in Portugal to establish a local facility to produce medical cannabis and derivative products. The company will be renamed Aurora Portugal LDA. On February 21st, Gaia Pharm received approval from its application to construct an EU GMP-compliant cannabis cultivation facility from Infarmed, a division of the Portuguese Health Ministry. 48 North Cannabis Corp. announced its Q2 2019 financial results, reporting losses of $873,000 while also reporting sustained revenue growth of $2.4 million. That represents an 88% increase over first quarter revenues. 48 North also announced it signed Canada's first ever letter of intent for outdoor grown cannabis with the SQDC, Quebec's sole legal retailer of recreational cannabis. Under this agreement, 48 North will supply 1,200 kilograms of cannabis to the SQDC from its outdoor farm in Brant County, Ontario, and 120 kilograms of indoor grown cannabis from its facilities in Brantford, Ontario, and Kirkland Lake, Ontario. Zenabis Global Inc. and OrganiGram Holdings Inc. have also signed letters of intent with the SQDC. OrganiGram now has distribution in place for all 10 Canadian provinces. Origin House has announced the conversion of debentures to strengthen its balance sheet. The company has elected to exercise its rights governing the company's 8% unsecured convertible debentures due July 12, 2021. Pursuant to the indenture, Origin House may convert the outstanding debentures at the conversion price of $6.25 Canadian per common share in the event that the volume-weighted average trading price of the common shares on the CSE is greater than $9 Canadian for 10 consecutive trading days. Australis Capital Inc. has acquired 100% of Mr. Natural Productions Inc., a medical and recreational cannabis brand based in California. This acquisition includes the rights to the Mr. Natural brand, the life story right of Robert Luciano, and all related intellectual property in a deal value for $1.3 million and royalty payments based on future performance incentives. And Robert Luciano will be a guest on Midas Letter coming up. Weekend Unlimited Inc. has signed a letter of intent with PPK LLC to acquire vertically integrated operations in Wilburton, Oklahoma. The 7-acre property includes 20,000 square feet of indoor facilities. The larger facility houses cultivation and extraction activities and includes a retail designated space for a concept store to be developed as a first location in Oklahoma. Aphria Inc. announced a worldwide license agreement with Manna Molecular Science LLC, producers of cannabis transdermal patches. Using Manna's established processes, Aphria will produce and sell patches containing cannabis oils for its established suite of medical and adult use brands. And that's your news for today.
Welcome to Midas Letter RAW, everybody.
Raw.
How you doing? Ed's here, special head. We got a really big show. A little intellectual today. Going to have some
laid back
science, medicine, not necessarily just cannabis. A little political mishmash. Banter. Analysis. Critique. What else? Let's see. We're going to predict the weather. We're going to predict share price movements. Pretty much going to break the law here today.
Yeah.
So get ready. Anyways, yeah, what else is going on today? Besides that boring old shit, we also have some, well, we have the CEO of Medexus Pharmaceuticals is going to be here shortly. And then we're going to have Mark Noble will be here. He's president of, oh, there it is. CannTrust. That sounds like a detriment.
Detriment.
CannTrust is going to be here He's the CEO of Medexus. Medexus was formerly Pediapharm. Oh, that's why those guys were there. Mark Noble is the president of Horizon ETFs Management. He will, senior vice president of ETFs Management for Horizons, and he'll be here 4 o'clock market close. 4:10, Greg Guyatt from CannTrust Holdings. He's the CFO. And then we have a feature called Liquor versus Weed from Sean Cookson today. That's at 4:20. What an appropriate time. What happens at 4:20, Ed?
Well, I'll tell you. Markets start to close. Well, they've closed already, and the people that get stock watch with a 20-minute delay at 20 after, their markets are closing, even though they've closed 20 minutes before.
Wow, that's fascinating shit right there. I'll tell you.
That's like Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah,
Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom. I was going to show everybody my hydroponic garden growing at home, but I haven't. I forgot to interact with the control room to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Since my computer doesn't function with the NDI function, but whatever.
Do you know Halo, the company Halo?
Halo, yeah, that's Scotty P's the
that thing's on a run.
Chairman. Is it?
Scott Patterson?
Scott Patterson's the chairman.
No shit.
Yeah.
And it trades on the E exchange. I can't get a quote on.
Only trades OTC.
Well, it trades somewhere.
Well, that's a good thing. It's a publicly traded entity.
Yeah, but it's moved up to 75 cents on virtually.
No volume.
Lots of volume.
No news.
I can't get a quote. I can't get it on this thing because it's not on CA and it's not on CNX.
No,
What's it on then?
It's a conundrum. It's on the Conundrum exchange.
The Conundrum. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to look into that. But yeah, so what do you think of markets today, Ed? There's a lot of green in our universe. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, the HMMJ's up. Yeah, the S&P's fighting with 2,800. Yeah, there's some pluses and there's some minuses.
That's good. Well said.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up the indexes here because it's all green in index land.
Really?
Yes.
Bit of a green show.
Midas Letter. Have you been to the Midas Letter website lately?
Nope. What? Yeah. Oh, sorry. We're live. Okay.
Anyway, so what do we got here? The Midas Letter Large Cap Index is up almost 5% today on volume that's about 25% heavier than normal. We average about 30 million shares a day traded on that large cap index, which is 10 of the largest Canadian stocks listed in Canada. So in the small caps, we've got, it's up 1.03%, venture index up 1.41%, and then the micro cap CSC, which is not actually a fair assessment of that index because it's got some of the biggest market cap companies in the cannabis industry on it. But it still remains the CSC index and it's only up 0.69%. So you know what I've noticed, Ed, is that on days when the Midas Letter large cap index is up, it means the Canadian large caps are doing well. On days when the Canadian index is down and the CSE is flying, that means the U.S. large caps are
because the U.S. gone right to the quality exchange, the CSE. No, not trying.
One of those two. But yeah. Anyways, let's go take a look at who's doing what. Oh, that's not the one I wanted.
That looks a little toppy, that chart to me.
Well, you know, here's the thing. If you look at the last 3 years, we've got this consistent pattern where January comes out of the chute on a rage, on a tear, and then you hit May and it starts to drift sideways waiting for that next big catalyst, which nothing happens in the summer because all of the newly minted cannabis billionaires are off in Muskoka and Rome and Amalfi and Lake Como and all those exotic destinations spending their upside. Okay, so let's see who's performing the best and who's performing the least. OrganiGram Holdings, look at OrganiGram, up 10%, 857.
What, did something happen in the space? It's flying today.
Yeah, in the Canadian space. So if we go and look at the American space, so for that we're going to go backwards here and we're going to pull up the CSE index. These are all available, by the way, at midasletter.com/cannabis. 4 indexes custom created by our friends at Quote Media based on criteria. The CSE criteria is that it's a cannabis company trading on the CSE. Okay, so let's take a look at this. The biggest performers in the CSE, Speakeasy, the guys who are applying for a 500-acre grow in the Kettle River Valley near Hadley, BC, I believe it is, up 15% today to 83 cents.
Look at what's in second place.
I know. What's going on with High Hampton?
Interestingly enough, I had lunch with our good friend Christian.
Oh.
Had a little sushi.
Yes.
And he was a little expressing how the stock, you know, and I'm not kidding you, and Christian, just being full disclosure, set up. Okay, I almost fell over there. He was saying that the stock was quiet.
Huh.
An hour later, I text him and say 38 to 40, up 13-14%, and he sort of laughed. He said, "Well, didn't stay quiet for long, did it?" No, look, these things can move quickly. All of a sudden, somebody decides they want to take a position. Maybe the rest of them are moving, and somebody said, "Hey, here's one that isn't moving. I'm going to buy a few 100,000 shares." Stock's up 15%.
Yeah. Look at number 3 on the CSE list here is Heritage Cannabis Holdings.
CANN?
Yeah, CANN up another.
Wow.
What,
look
almost
at that
10%
move.
today.
It's gone from 15. So look at.
Yeah. So we had Clint on yesterday, and there's your result.
Clinton.
Clinton.
Is Clinton from Klingon?
Is that a heavy day or a light day? Clinton. Sounds like a Klingon. Anyways, so like, where's the top?
Is a Klingon like a walnut?
quite different, but similar.
But similar.
But similar.
Yeah.
Anyways, so boy. So all these catalysts that Cadillacs that are happening. I don't know what's going on with Heritage CannTrust.
Any Rinkins?
But it's on fire, and it defies reason.
Did Clint give us a little hint? Oh, Clint? Did Clint give us a hint?
He gave us some broad, strokes.
Broad strokes.
Broad, sort of directional things, but nothing to justify a next day lift on 8.5 million shares traded.
It says you got time to buy this.
You got time to buy this. Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Look at that.
Yeah, I feel a little bit left out here. I mean, you're always intervening.
Interventions are sometimes necessary.
Apparently, in this guy's case.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Hey,
I'm day. This is day 6 on the wagon for me.
Is this Guinness Book of World Records called you up yet?
No, but Guinness the brewery has.
They're concerned.
Exactly. They're worried.
So,
the Book of World Records, I'm never going to catch Peter Cunningham over there in the UK.
No, he's up to like 150 or 160. He's up to a month now.
Jesus.
Mark Monahan.
55 days, he called me the other day.
Did he?
Yeah.
I know, these guys.
I know. It's just like bullshit. There's nobody to drink with anymore.
Yeah, you know what?
Anyways, coming up next, the CEO of Medexus is joining us.
Medexus Pharmaceuticals Inc. is a Montreal-based specialty pharmaceutical company focused on the therapeutic areas of autoimmune disease and pediatrics. The company's leading products are Rasuvo and Medoject, unique formulations designed to treat rheumatoid arthritis and other autoimmune diseases. Another leading product is Rupall, an innovative allergy medication with a unique mode of action. Medexus Pharmaceuticals Inc. trades on the TSX Venture under the ticker symbol MDP.
Ken D'Entremont is here with me now. He's the CEO of Medexus Pharmaceuticals, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol MDP. Formerly, you might recognize this name as it used to be Pediapharm, but you weren't CEO then.
That's correct. I was not.
New name, new CEO?
Is there everything. New business.
New business.
It's a new business.
Give us an overview, Ken. What's new with Medexus?
Well, it's a specialty pharma company that we've taken three distinct organizations and put them together, basically to increase scale.
Okay.
Pediapharm, Medexus, which is the company that I founded, and Medac, which is a company that we purchased, all have the same problem. We lack scale. So you put the three organizations together, you end up with an organization that is EBITDA positive, very strong revenue growth, with a really strong pipeline.
Wow.
So we're really happy about where we are.
Okay, so Pediapharm used to be focused on kids' medications.
Correct.
What was the focus of the other two companies?
So my company, Medexus, was rheumatology focused in Canada. We had several agents for rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, juvenile idiopathic arthritis, which is arthritis in children.
Right.
And the Medac Pharma business was the same with a similar product called Rasuvo, focused on rheumatoid arthritis. So obviously that was a perfect fit for us, because we were focused in that therapeutic area. And rolling together with Pediapharm was a good move because they were publicly traded and they had a very similar business model, just in a different therapeutic area.
Sure. So yesterday you announced Q3 financials ending December 31st, and by all accounts it's very positive. Revenue up 512% to 14.4 million, gross profit up 657% to 8.9 million. Is this a direct result of the combination of these three entities?
Yeah, absolutely is. So we've put all three entities together. All were growing. All were either producing positive EBITDA or about to produce positive EBITDA. So you put the three entities together and you have a very strong company. So I think the quarter that we announced, we're very happy with those results. But we think it's very reflective of what we'll do next year. And we will continue to drive revenue while our OPEX stays flat. So our expenses aren't going to change a lot. All the growth that we're getting is from organic growth of products already in our portfolio.
Sure. Okay. And what is your best-selling product at this point?
Rasuvo, which is an auto-injector of methotrexate used to treat rheumatoid arthritis and psoriasis.
Okay.
Methotrexate is a drug of choice in rheumatoid arthritis and is often used early on in the disease and then continued on as other drugs are added. So for sure that is our #1 product, but we also have a very exciting product in Rupall. Rupall is an antihistamine, a prescription antihistamine, which is really best in class. So that product is growing dramatically, more than doubling year over year, as people moved into branded antihistamines. Okay. So we're stealing share from generic antihistamines that are prescription, and also from over-the-counter antihistamines, because this is just a better product.
Interesting. So tell me, how do the economics of this work for the company when you acquire an off-patent drug, or rather a successful drug that's not yet licensed into this territory? How does that all work?
Yeah, typically when we go to license a drug, we want to keep the upfront payments low or zero. We really position ourselves as excellent commercial operators. And the revenue that the licensor is going to get is mainly tied to the unit sales that we generate. So the greatest benefit they could have is by having a good commercial operator.
Interesting. So then do you become more attractive to the manufacturers of these drugs as a expanded entity?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it gives us 2 territories, the US and Canada. It gives us several different therapeutic areas: rheumatology, autoimmune disease, oncology, and pediatrics. So those therapeutic areas, we can license more products. In fact, we have a rich pipeline of products that we will be announcing and launching soon.
Okay. What kind of companies do you compete with to acquire these drugs?
Yeah, companies that compete in our same space, but we position ourselves as excellent commercial operators, so we have a good track record. The growth that we're showing on Rasuvo and Metoject and Rupall, all is spectacular. We're seeing some of these products double year over year, so that's a very strong argument for future licensing opportunities. We can demonstrate that we've done it in the past. We can certainly do it with those new products.
Okay. If I was to ask you what is the combined market size for your entire portfolio of drugs, what would that be?
Well, that's a difficult question because we look at it therapeutic area by therapeutic area.
Okay.
But for instance, Rasuvo, which is our US drug, it competes in a marketplace that's about a $400 million US marketplace on an annual basis. and we currently just have a small share of that, and we expect it to grow fast.
So is that the underlying strategy of the whole company, is to acquire the best-in-class drugs for each different therapy and then market it and commercialize it?
Yes, it absolutely has to have a patient benefit, something that's not currently well serviced. So, our strategy is license those products and make the calls on the physicians, convince them that that is the best drug for patients, and then deliver it through retail pharmacy or hospitals.
Interesting. How's the growth trajectory looking for the next 12, 24, 36 months?
Very strong growth. We reported $14.4 million worth of revenue last quarter. We expect that growth in the low 20% range next year. So we're seeing really solid growth, both on revenue and EBITDA.
Yeah. Do you, what category does this fall under in terms of, like, for a asset class? Like, it's not purely biotech per se.
No, it would be specialty pharma.
Specialty pharma.
So definitely specialty pharma, but in a specific therapeutic area. We target rheumatology, pediatrics, specialty oncology.
Okay, and so what is the sort of conceptual size of this company in the next 5 years? Could it be $1 billion company, a $10 billion company?
Yeah, we expect to be a leading specialty pharma company. Currently market cap between 60 and 100 million, depending on how you calculate that. We see ourselves at least 10 times that. With the assets that we have and the assets that we believe we can bring in, we currently are sitting on $30 million worth of cash. So obviously our balance sheet is really strong. So future business development, we have the assets and the strength to go out and license more, and obviously more mergers and acquisitions is a possibility as well.
Well, fantastic. And then, so what are the big catalysts that you're looking to hit in 2019?
Just to keep driving organic growth with the 3 products that I mentioned, Metoject, Rasuvo, Rupall, drive that strongly, and then launch new products. We have 2 new products that we expect to announce within the coming weeks that will add to our revenue growth. And then out there doing more business development, finding new products that we can bring to both marketplaces.
All right, Ken, that's a great update, or I guess it's kind of like a new company altogether with the combination. But great to hear the story, and we'll be following with interest. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking on the little notifications bell. If you're interested in getting monthly actionable investment ideas in the cannabis space to your inbox, subscribe to the newsletter at MidasLetter.com.
I got a little push there.
Yeah. Woohoo! We're back. Anyways,
that was quick. That was a quick turnaround.
Yeah, that's quite...
CANN. Okay, we should.
Well,
sorry.
I just wanted to final comment on Medexus that this is interesting. So this company I've been following for a couple of years, and every time I turn around, they make another move, and it goes in the right direction. So
what's the chart? Should I put up the chart?
Yeah. Well, I don't. Yeah.
Well, I think we should. I think that's
a
you know what? I think
idea.
when we have a guest on, we should
put up the chart.
Put up the chart
as soon as they leave.
Right away.
Just in case it's not
What's
good.
the ticker?
The ticker is MDP on the TSXV.
Is that a political party, the MDP?
The MDP, that was a former political party. Yeah. Now I don't know what it is.
They don't know.
Nobody knows.
MDP, is that on the CNX?
Nope, TSX Venture.
Oh, good old Venture.
Good old Venture.
Where the fees are high. Well, we got basically this is a 6-monther, not a 6-mother.
Boy, oh boy.
Okay. Control room, charts, please.
All right. I don't.
Well.
Okay, so I've got the Medexus chart up here.
So you know what? I guess they don't want me to control the charts anymore.
Well, I think there's an issue with your NDI, but so it's been. Yeah, there you go. It's looks like it took a hit back there in September, from which it has not quite yet recovered. But $4.38 a share. There must have been some rollback in there, because when I was following it as Pediapharm, it was like 45 cents. So let's go back.
Probably a rollback.
Okay, so that's what it was, a rollback, because there's no difference in. Yeah, okay, so.
Sure, moving right along.
It's a specialty pharma. You know, the great thing about specialty pharmas is they can go from nothing to, billion-dollar unicorn in a very short time, depending on how aggressive management gets with their acquisition strategy. But, yeah.
Look at the volume on this Heritage Cannabis Holdings.
Yes, I know.
Maybe you need to get him back on the show.
We just had him on the show yesterday. I mean, if every time he comes on the show, his stock's going to go up by 20%, 10%.
Yeah, well, wow.
Stranger things have happened.
That's an impressive move. James, that was 15 cents at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, no, I know. You could have bought it at, look at that. You could have bought it at 18.5 cents on January 15th.
Wow.
That is one hell of a chart. I'm going to pull up the full screen. Look at that. Look at those candles, Ed. Is that trading outside of the
yeah, well, you know what? I every time I try to put the ball, okay, here, let's see, settings. Going to put up the Bollingers, a lower indicator.
But do you think this is sustainable? Your chart's not on. It's this one over here. I think this is the only one that's working.
Set as default. Okay. You know, it's outside the band, and interestingly enough, the RSI is shooting up there. You know what? Look, you're going to get a pullback, but I think tomorrow, if it gaps up, because the volume is so high.
Yeah.
I'd be again, not to be critical of the deal, but take some profits and maybe look to re-enter after a little pullback.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to pull back at some point.
They all do, don't they?
They all do. There's not one that doesn't.
And now we got. All
right, so let's look at some of these other
the invisible
indexes
hand
here.
I feel like there's someone. I feel a presence.
So on the CSC, who do you think is the biggest trader? Low, it would cheat if you looked at the screen, but it's not.
I'm going to say
High Hampton Holdings has just jumped into first place.
Wow.
Up 14.2%. Now, have we had any news from them? That's what we've got.
Well, yeah, like I said, I was having a nice lunch with Christian. He bought, and you know, he seemed to think there's lots of things going, but he suggested that maybe
it's time to buy.
He said, if you buy me lunch, I'll get you some paper. No, of course he didn't say that. nice fella.
He didn't say that to me. Anyways, yeah, so there you have it. High Hampton's at the top of the food chain today on the CSE index. Was that's an old-fashioned telephone I hear ringing. Maybe somebody could close that door over there. That would be a miracle.
Well, I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
You know, one thing that we know for certain.
Look at Aphria Growers. Look where it's at. 4 cents. What happened to that? My, how the mighty have fallen. Look at Prevceutical down to 4 cents. Fincana down to 14 cents. There was a big promise that never quite materialized. ICC World International Cannabis Corp. Another funny production.
I got a question for you.
Lay it on me. Lay it on me, Ed.
So, you know, your level of knowledge in this sector is second to none. No, wait. Jesus. Well, yeah, now I'm getting. Can you sit up? I mean, after that, you got to pick me off the ground.
You're going to need to strap you to a pole.
You know a lot more than I will ever know about this. So you've been watching this stuff now for a couple of years, maybe longer, right?
Who told you
Cannabis,
that? That's bullshit.
Observation. So
nobody knows anything.
But you know,
it's all bullshit.
So do you find with the proliferation of companies coming in, it's hard to keep track because you seem to. Like I've lost track, completely lost track, and now I'm trying to narrow down the. So that's what happens in a new industry. For a while there, if you're first in, you know everything. You know every company. You know every issuer. You got their share count in the top of your head. But now there's like 400 issuers. It's like as soon as that happens, and I can't remember all of them. It's like now I go the opposite way. I just want 7. In my portfolio that I can keep my eye on, and that's about what I'm down to now. Is 7.
7, yeah. I've jettisoned everything, all the large caps. Now I'm focused on small caps that are going to make it big, like Heritage Cannabis, like Ventura Cannabis, a lot of the early stage ones, like a Soyuz that just started trading last week.
That looks stupidly cheap.
Well, it's stupidly cheap because one of the first founders of the company, who was forced out yet nonetheless ended up with a boatload of stock, was just blowing out his paper in an act of absolute vengeance. And so that's always looks bad for the current shareholders because it makes it hard to hang on. You're thinking
opportunity for those who
aren't yet built a position. Whoo, you can get in cheaper than the last
cheaper
financing.
Than borscht.
Cheaper than pony droppings.
Wow. Well, how about those cow droppings that propel that cow forward? You know?
Those aren't cow droppings. Those are cow flingings.
That's That's thrust. That's serious thrust.
That's
there.
some serious flying shit.
Now you know how rocket ships move.
Well,
Same principle.
I don't think so. I don't think
Same principle.
What?
They're expelling fuel.
Oh.
What is a cow doing? It's expelling fuel.
Well, the cow is expelling compressed
Fuel.
methane and solids.
Fuel.
Actually, you know what it is? It's compressed and reprocessed.
Shit. It's compressed shit. That's
solar
what it is.
energy is what it is.
Well, everything is solar energy.
Everything's solar energy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Anyways, so
Okay.
let's take a look at some of the other. Guess who's here? I think you know what?
We are.
Events board. Oh, there's an events board coming up.
There it is.
You want to know what's happening in terms of financials? Guess who's releasing financials tomorrow?
MedMen.
MedMen.
Let me guess again. Canopy Rivers.
MedMen. Canopy Rivers is releasing Q3 financials tomorrow as well. Acreage Holdings is going to publish Q4 financials on March the 12th. And there's a conference call associated with that. And then one of the big ones we're waiting for is Tilray. And Tilray is going to publish financials for Q4 on March 18th. Joining me now, none other than Mark Noble, Senior Vice President of Horizons. Mark, welcome back.
Good to see you, James.
Yeah, you too, for sure. Mark, you've been watching the earnings flying out of these larger Canadian companies? Yeah, for fun. Yeah. But what do you think? I mean, certainly they're moving in the right direction.
The earnings are moving in the right direction because they're not disappointing.
Right.
So what people really wanted to see was they wanted to see revenue growth. Really, earnings per share is sort of irrelevant. Most of the estimates, on things like Canopy had negative earnings estimates. What people want to see is they want to see with these Q4 earnings that retail marijuana adult use sales are real and they're meeting expectations. And what we're seeing is, yes, they are. The big guys are able to sell. So even though Canopy had a bit of a restatement on Friday and that hit them yesterday, what we're seeing is they were so far ahead of the rest of the market. Everybody else is starting to catch up. And there's a little bit of euphoria now starting to happen because there was very lofty expectations for adult use sales in terms of these companies generating revenues, and they're meeting those revenue expectations. Aurora's up 400%, Canopy's up 300%. So from a fundamental perspective, when we look at earnings, we want to see that grow. And while those have grown, what people are really looking at is revenue, and the revenue is really what's driving the sort of what we're seeing. So now it's a question of, can everybody else do monkey see, monkey do, and generate revenue growth in the the double-digit multiple, 200 to 400%.
Yeah. So 50% of the cannabis sales in Canada occurred under the banners of Canopy Growth and Aurora.
Right.
Which means that there's a whole bunch of smaller ones fighting for that other 50%. Right. Do you think that's going to change over time, or do you think that Aurora and Canopy are ideally positioned to defend that 50% market share?
Oh, I think Canopy and Aurora are in a really good position. I mean, technically I don't have too much of an opinion on the stocks, but what we're seeing is they seem to have created a product moat and a branding moat around their sub-brands. Canopy, really surprised on there was the amount that came in from recreational sales. So Aurora is still maintaining a very strong footing in their medical, and we know that they want to go global medical. Canopy has a huge footprint in the recreational. We need to turn that on its head a bit, though. What that means, though, is there's not a huge pot for the other guys. And so what investors need to be aware of is, while companies like Canopy and Aurora and Aphria to a lesser degree are being rewarded right now with this momentum, it also means that if there's any revenue misses from Tilray, which we got coming up in a couple weeks, Hexo, CannTrust, then there will be punished significantly on the other side. And so, and again, it's not earnings, it's revenue. People want to see that in this new commercial market that there's something really there to support the revenue. And the other reason the Canopy, even though it missed again on the profit margins, is we actually saw a decline in sales in Ontario last month because the online recreational sales isn't working to what people would imagine, and anyone who's used that system kind of gets a sense of that. So there's still another leg up with the retail movement, the rollout of retail, and we see already that Canopy has established a leadership position potentially with Couche-Tard. So that's another leg up. So what does that mean for investors that are looking at either HMMJ, our large ETF, or they're looking at the individual stocks? Is dispersion. And when I say dispersion, we're now starting to see a little bit of feast and famine, where if anyone misses on the revenues on a go-forward basis, you're looking at a significant potential leg down relative to the sector. So that is a bit of a risk zone.
Does HMMJF own the Canopy and Aurora?
They own 50 stocks, so they have all the big ones. They would be capped at a 10% weight, and that's really, not to sound too much like a salesman, but that's really what the appeal is right now. Is that what you're going to see is as you get the big movements up on Aphria and Canopy right now, they get captured in the ETF performance. Whereas if you have a concentrated portfolio and you hold any losers right now, you could be looking at a significant dispersion again. So this right now, the revenue and the growth of the sector is really supporting the sector from an individual company to company basis. That's where we got to be a little bit careful, and we got to really watch that revenue numbers.
So the sales of cannabis in Canada essentially met expectations across the whole industry,
right?
But only 50% of the 50% of the total sales is divided up amongst the other 98 publicly traded companies that operate in Canada. So does that mean HMMJF would look to lighten up on those companies that are going to be fighting over a smaller piece?
Well, this is the thing about indexing. Is indexing is a market cap weighted.
Okay.
So the weight is established based on the market cap of the company. So it's float. So the larger the market cap, the larger the weight. So as its stock price goes up, its weight in the index increases, and as the price goes down, its weight would decrease. So a lot of those other companies you're mentioning are very small weights. They're like 1% to 2% weights, where Aurora, Aphria, Canopy, Tilray are more in the sort of 8 to 10% range. So we're going to get a lot more of the large cap movement at this point in time, whereas the smaller caps, if they disappoint, they'll have a much less proportional impact on the performance of the ETF.
Right. So is the expectation then, just as an observer, that the performance that's going to be reported by Tilray tomorrow and Aphria eventually is going to be impacted by this reality that 50% of the sales went to two companies?
Well, we'll have to see. What they're going to be looking for to see is are they meeting revenue expectations? Not necessarily earnings expectations, but revenue expectations. And it's sometimes hard to determine what the market is. But if they aren't showing the same type of revenue growth that the other large two did, then I would imagine that there's a hit to those particular stocks. And it could be that the big 4 or 5 companies have 75% of the market share, right? You could see them take the other 3 big issuers could take the other 30, 40%. And we have companies like OrganiGram that, that's what really what started this rally in my mind, is OrganiGram came out of the gate with the first Q4 earnings and they knocked it out of the park.
Right.
And that's where people started to say, oh man, those those high expectations, pardon the pun, are really coming to fruition. And that's really what started this. So again, you could see that. And it's really, we don't know. We really don't know. This is why these earnings are so crucial right now, because they're giving us a little bit of a roadmap, not the complete picture. We're going to start getting the complete picture when we have Ontario retail stores set up, but it's giving us a little bit of a crystal ball into who has established branding, who's established first market mover positions in the adult use market.
Okay, so then where do you think this market's going for the rest of the year? I mean, it's been on fire since the beginning of the year, and we're looking at a chart right now of the HMMJF, which has, no matter how you slice it, has very well, outperformed. And so the question is it better to own a ETF like HMMJF in this kind of an environment where it's so frothy and there's so much friction in the actual sales marketplace? Or is it better to have a balance of ETF versus more speculative individual stocks?
Yeah, I think you can, I'm obviously in favor of the sector, because what we see with any sector, whether it's technology or marijuana, is high tides rises all ships. So because the level of dispersion among the stocks could be significant and you could see some big losers, I'd rather own the full sector. Of course, you can have both. If you like Canopy and Aurora, you like what they're doing, you can have an allocation to them and then have what your sector beta is on the ETF. Also, the ETF, you're going to generate a yield as well, which you're not going to generate with the other products. So one of the things that we are able to do is, as valuations get frothy, the borrow costs on the stocks get enormous. So back in the height of August, you could borrow rate on Tilray was like 700%. Yeah. Well, the ETF actually, we take half the stock and we actually lend it out. up to half the stock. And so that generates a yield right now of about 7 to 8%. So you're also getting that, and that kind of works as a little bit of a hedge, again, if valuations get frothy. But we could see momentum now continuing because you've got now real sales numbers coming out of Ontario to support the market. And you've now got increased liberalization happening on the U.S. People are going to start tracking hemp sales, for example, see what kind of market that is. And so there's going to be a second wave potentially, particularly from the U.S. investors, as more of these Canadian stocks get cross-listed to try to capture this and try to see who's in play now to get involved on the U.S. market. So I think that right now we're seeing the benefit of good surprises on the revenue side from the marijuana producers in Canada, and then the next leg up, and what's going to continue to support it, is if we start to see more sense that these companies that are making money have the war chest now to take advantage of a further liberalization on the U.S. and the global market, which I know I've mentioned here before. And Couche-Tard certainly with Canopy would suggest looking at a retail distribution globally.
Do you think there's going to be much of a contribution from the international market X of the United States?
Yes, absolutely. Because of the margins. So markets like Germany, for example, you're just getting a higher per gram cost, and it's a much larger market, right? You got 50 million people in Germany. So the German medical market could be bigger than the entire Canadian market, just that one market alone. You add in Denmark, Israel, Australia. These are real markets that have, and again, it's just medical, but again, the margins are good on medical. So that's a real growth opportunity for these providers, even ex the US. Now, when you add in, if you add in the U.S. and then you add in the global medical market, if you end up with an adult use market in the U.S., then you're looking at potentially globally a $200 billion market. But even X out the U.S., you're probably looking at a $70 to $100 billion market with the inclusion of adult use market in Canada and a global medical market. So increasingly in Canopy, again, this is where people like what they're seeing, is you're seeing a lot more international revenue coming into Aurora and Canopy, and the analysts are queuing into that. They really want to see that diversification coming outside of Canada.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so what about Latin America? 540 million customers strong. The only company I know of that's really making headway there is so far as Chiron. Does Latin America figure prominently into the global mix?
Well, I mean, it would, just given the sheer size. Again, though, the question remains is what's the margin per product on that, right? I think if I looked at Canopy's earnings, the average, and I could be, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the average price they were sort of selling in the adult use market was around $8. The question I would have about Latin America is, if you end up with the adult use market in somewhere like Uruguay, for example, which is where ICC was before they got bought by Aurora, how much are they actually making? How attractive are the margins in those? So sure, you have a sheer number of people, but from a per gram unit, how attractive is that going to be relative to, I would say, selling to developed markets, particularly Europe?
Right. Okay, well, Mark, that's great insight as per usual. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming, and we'll have you back again soon.
Oh, great. Take care.
All right, I want to draw everybody's attention to this chart here, and well, let's just see if we can get this up. What's going on? That's not working as per usual. So let's try that again. Okay, so we were talking about Chiron, and I want everybody to look at this chart because this is another one. There's been a few issuers that have really started to separate themselves from the pack, as it were. Certainly OrganiGram is one. I've got my eye on Chiron Life Sciences Corp, not solely because I own it, but because I believe that Latin America holds one of the great promises. As Mark, our last guest, just pointed out, it's about the margin. And in Latin America, the cost of production per unit is so much lower than it is in Canada and the United States, largely because of super low costs of labor, super low costs of energy, given that it's near the equator and the only energy is used for basically transportation and watering, cooling to some extent. But I mean, Chiron's got a footprint in Mexico, it's got a footprint in Peru, in Chile, in Colombia, where it's based, and soon I'm sure Brazil and Argentina are going to be added to that. So they are predominantly exposed to that market. What's your feeling about Chiron?
Well,
Ed?
you know what? We've talked about this many times. It seems like they've put together some very, very competent people on the board. It came out, not that expensive. Lots of developments. They seem to have a stranglehold, as you pointed out, in South America. I'd like to see the next quarter. There's still, like, it's gone up a lot in value here. Like, it's had a big run, and you get a big run, nice take a little bit off the table and maybe slip back in a little lower,
Yeah.
A little trading.
Slip back in a little lower. Slip a little. Ooh. Looking at the chart here,
be careful.
I've got the 1-year chart up here.
Yeah.
And
it's corrected $1 already from the peak.
Well, but just to mid-January.
Yeah.
It's gone up essentially a factor of 2.5. And so one would expect the shorter-term traders who would be piling into that momentum to take profit at this level. And so these little corrections are to be expected.
Look at that top, the candle, that's the peak. But notice the big wick.
The big what?
The big wick is a sort of a clue as to selling pressure. And we saw it.
Yeah.
3 days ago, the thing came off of 435, closed around 4, and here it is right now, but what, 345, something like that?
As of this moment, I couldn't tell you. My computer died. My systems are down. Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear me?
Okay, moving right along. No, so my computer works, so let's put up a chart of...
Quickhead, your computer's working, mine is not.
Okay, I'm going to put up Chiron.
All right, pull up Chiron. We're not done talking about that sucker yet.
No, sir. We can talk about this till the cows come home.
I heard somebody mention that they felt that this could be the canopy growth of Latin America. And, I obviously can't comment on that being
Is that my Chiron
biased.
or your Chiron? We got some live audience here all of a sudden.
I know, and they're on their hands and knees. which is disturbing to say the least.
Look at the volume spike.
I know.
I was going to say the volume swell.
Have you had an opportunity to go outside at all today, Ed?
Yes.
And what did you think of the weather out there in Ontario today?
A little chilly, nippy.
A little chilly,
nippy.
A little nippy.
But it always seems to be cold for PDAC week.
I do remember 1 or 2 where it was spring-like conditions during PDAC.
I know.
But my most common memory is of standing in a howling cold wind for like the 3 seconds it takes to cross from the last tunnel exit from the CBC building across to the convention center. Let's see here. I have finally got my machine back in good standing. What did you think about the news about 48 North today, Q2 financials? They had revenue of $2.4 million and only losses of $873,000. To me, that's like very positive considering their short existence relative to others.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how's their cash position?
Well, let's just see. They've got 1,200 pounds of cannabis, I know.
In the till?
I think that would be in the bag.
And is there any reason why I don't get any water? Just saying.
This is not water, Ed. This is vodka. Just so you know.
Back off the wagon.
Yeah, just like that.
Just like that.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm amazed that some issues are getting a lot of attention, a lot of action. CANN, Chiron up until the last few days, but there's action out there.
Yeah.
There's action.
There is, indeed.
Now, I understand tomorrow we're interviewing AIIM. Is that correct?
Is that tomorrow? Well, that's a mining show, so that's your interview.
Okay. I'm very interested, considering I had a chance to buy that one at 4.5 cents, and I didn't. It's now 18 cents.
Yes, I know. Actually, one of the main promoters behind it called me up today and said, "Oh, I own it." And I said, "I don't think so." He says, "I thought you got some." And I said, "No." He says, "Oh." And then he proceeded to tell me about it for the last, I'm like, okay, falling on deaf ears, just saying. Let's see, a little later in the show we have Greg Guyatt. He's the CFO of CannTrust Holdings here. We're going to rake him over the coals about the developments of CannTrust Ontario operations. We've got a liquor versus weed segment coming from our good friend Sean Cookson, and that's basically what's coming up yet today. Now, I don't know if you've seen, Ed, that we're going to see financials from Tilray tomorrow. Or sorry, Tilray's March 18th? But who are we seeing tomorrow? There was that screen up there, but we didn't get a printed version of it. Put up that chart, that segment, that chart again of who's reporting earnings in the near term, please. Control rumors.
Yeah, there's a lot of action.
There we go. Oh, it's MedMen. MedMen's tomorrow, and Canopy Rivers is tomorrow. Those are going to be interesting.
What about, look at this, Tilray's reporting on March 18th.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is what is going to be very telling. So Tilray's been making all this sort of public leeway and hay, and, you know, with their crazy stock price and everything, but Aurora and Canopy split 50% of all Canadian sales. Where would Tilray be getting revenue from if not from Canadian sales? Do you think for any of their research partnerships might be actually way more lucrative than we know? Do you think they're concerned about it, considering they've got a lot of money in the bank?
I'm still thinking of the first question.
Okay, well, it would be nice. It would be really nice if Brendan Kennedy would join us again here soon. Brendan,
would it be nice or B9?
Well, it could be 9.
Or 10.
Or the 11th.
Oh.
One never knows. But yeah, so let's see. We've got Acreage Farms is reporting too. That's going to be a telling story.
Lots of telling going on.
Yeah. Did you see that? Did you see that piece by Barron's about warning investors about U.S. cannabis stocks?
No.
No. Oh well.
Did you?
Yes.
And?
It was great.
Really?
Yep. Okay. Mac Daddy. Okay.
Is that like in mac and cheese?
It is on occasion. Okay, so let's take a look at another one of these indexes here, Ed, because these indexes are all looking quite strong today. Obviously, the most important one is, you know what I really hate about Mac is all these goddamn update alerts all the time, every day, like every day, multiple times per day. It's like, no, can't do that. Got to hit restart. Got to remind me later. Thank you, Apple, for your junky technology alerts. Anyways, so now I'm finally back to the screen that I want to be at. What did you think about Trudeau's statements in the press today about letting Jody Wilson-Raybould say whatever she wants?
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care?
He's got lots of dough.
Yeah, he runs the country. What does he care?
You know what? Politics to me is the biggest show on earth. You know, like the greatest show. You know, it's wild, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What, you know?
Okay, you have. I'm gonna pull up a chart for OSO.
Okay, let's do it.
So this is why I think there might be an opportunity here for investors looking for a low-cost punt. Say that again, God. That's Sir John. Oh, is Weed MD result tomorrow? Is Weed MD result tomorrow? I don't know. Do you know, Ed?
No.
Is Keith reporting financials tomorrow? I think that's what that question means.
Well, eventually, if you ask that question enough, yes.
Somebody will give you the answer will always be yes.
Well, no.
Free beer tomorrow?
Free beer tomorrow. No, but is they reporting tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
But in tomorrow,
okay.
Are they reporting tomorrow?
Now,
no.
Look at this chart, Ed, and see what your technical analysis can tell me. This is the 4 days of trading of Soyuz.
Yeah, I see that here
and
online.
We see that the prices have basically collapsed from where it opened, and it can now be had for a quarter. Are you a buyer?
I haven't bought any, but I am a buyer. I'm going to look to dip my toe here pretty soon.
You got 5 minutes.
I don't want to be constrained. If I go in for 1 million shares, I might move the stock. I don't want to really get any phone calls.
Yeah, the exchange hates it when you buy right at market.
Hate the tape. Ed the painter. No, I think tomorrow, I think let's say you want X, maybe go in for 0.35X or 0.4X.
Oh, yeah?
4X.
It's 4X. That's like currency.
And
gold.
A few other things too.
4X? What else?
Not going to say.
Futures? What do you mean? Come on, we're supposed to be telling the audience what we're thinking here. Okay, I'm going to see what's available.
You going to try and buy some right on the close just to?
No, I'm just going to take a look. It's got 4 minutes. I'm going to hit trade. Let's see what can be done here.
Let's see what kind of shit you can get
See if
yourself
I can
into.
buy. I'm going to try to buy 100,000 at market.
You can't. You're going to get a phone call. You can't do that.
What do you mean? Let's see what the.
No, they don't want you to.
Price limit. I'm going to limit it to 25 cents. How about that? Then I'm not painting the tape. I'm only going to buy what I can get at the end of the day.
Okay.
At the current price without upticking it. Okay, let's see.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now what you're going to be able to get and what you can't get.
Well, it's bid 23.5. So I guess I would be closing it on an uptick if I hit the.
It's bid 23.5. And how much is offered? Is there 100 offered at 24?
I can't see the depth on this screen.
I can.
Quick, Ed.
Click, Ed.
Click it.
Click it. It's 24.5 to 25.5. Up a penny. Okay. I think we saw the bottom.
You think?
Yeah.
I should buy some here.
Well, there's 5,000 offered at 25.5. I think if you uptick it,
you get a good phone call.
You won't get a phone call. It'll freeze the machine, and the bank will collapse.
Well, then how can I not hit yes?
Yeah, but then if the bank collapses, you lose your money.
Oh. Even that doesn't bother me.
I know, because you always get some more. Well, from where?
You know what? People say, well, why don't you care about money? I'm saying, I got all the money in the world. I got all the money in your pocket right now.
He's got the whole world.
And that is true if you're a politician. You know, what do you think about Donald Trump's guy, the lawyer, Michael Cohen? He's supposed to come out with some pretty heavy
damning statements, damning evidence.
Pretty evil stuff tomorrow.
Really?
Anyways, the one thing that we haven't done is talk to our audience today. Market reaction to the Mueller investigation once released? ? From Brock N. That's a good question.
Brock N?
Brock N. Let's see. Got to say hello. There's Glenn Trief. Hey, Glenn, how are you doing? Good. Urin Crump 666. If you are circumcised, you might know what a 4X is. That's a little disturbing.
Yeah.
Boy. Thoughts on Namaste Technology from somebody called Jock Got Claws. Well, Namaste is just coming out of a reorg of sorts, a parting of the company, a realignment of management. So we don't really have anything to say about Namaste Technology. Sort of waiting to see what emerges from that situation, and it's going to be the news releases that informs us.
You know what? Some companies can't catch a bid, and others have no problem catching a bid.
Yeah.
But I'm still shocked at this CANN. I mean, the guy was here yesterday.
Yeah.
And no clue, no heads up.
No.
Pay attention.
No.
Well, that's the kind of guy you want.
It sounds like he would be as surprised as we are.
Well, somebody's not surprised. Last at 26 now on OSO, and that's closed. That market's closed, up a penny and a half on 586. Yeah, I got to think.
Tomorrow's the day?
Tomorrow you should be stepping in.
Turn it around?
I think I'll be doing a little shopping tomorrow.
Jordan Botha, one of our readers, says that he bought some OSO earlier today. See? So you think that's the bottom at 25 cents?
Well, I think it hit 23 and a half on an intraday tick. And I mean, if they've done it at 45 and they were able to raise $4 million and the warrants at 75, and this is probably the cheapest market cap on the street.
Yeah.
And
your point?
Well, I'm just going to leave it there and let the imaginations of the street run wild. Don't you
Dave
think?
Combs wants to know if there's any Midas events coming up.
Yes, we just don't know when.
We can't tell you when.
Yeah, we can't tell you when. Tomorrow. Tomorrow,
Simon
everyone.
Cleary says, James, what are you doing with VCAN? Ventura Cannabis Corp, formerly known as BLVD Treatment Centers.
Okay, so
I bought 2 million shares of it, and I'm still holding it, even though they're about to roll it back 7.34 to 1. I'm going to participate in the conference call, which is on Thursday at 4:30 with the CEO Jacob Gamble, and I am cautiously optimistic that this is going to be a sleeper that is going to raise some eyebrows and make surprises.
You know what I think? And I'm going to, again, this is as a former accountant, VCAN.
Adam Black, what's the ticker on the company James and Ed are talking about? VCAN on the
Formerly
CNX.
Yeah. You know what is this going to become an earnings play kind of company?
Ventura Cannabis?
Yeah.
Well, it already is.
Okay.
So they have $2.5 million a year in clean revenue. So yeah, okay. So Ivan Black was asking about the symbol. The company we were first talking about was called Osoyoos Cannabis. Now, what's interesting about Osoyoos is the largest shareholder is a First Nations member, a business award winner who was behind the construction and development of the Inkameep Winery, golf course, hotel and resort. And I've stayed at this place a couple of times.
So you can play golf.
You can play golf.
You can drink.
You can drink.
Smoke dope.
Smoke dope. Go boating. What's wrong with that picture?
Wow.
Yeah. And there are many times in the summer where the hottest point in Canada is Soyuz.
And that's because that's a desert climate, isn't it?
It's the only desert in Canada.
Right. And you know how you know if it's desert or dessert? You know that
it's got sand in it?
No.
It's a desert?
No, there's a little trick, little spelling trick.
Oh, the spelling trick.
Yeah.
If it's got 2 S's, it's dessert.
Right.
And if it's got 1 S, it's a desert.
Why?
Well,
because if you want dessert, you always want a second helping. Oh! Just a little.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Are we reaching new lows on this show?
Well, no, it's...
okay, so look, I think the OSO, I think, after that's, come on, it hasn't been successful, but just looking at the potential timelines, the yardsticks here, the milestones, yardsticks, timelines, call it what you will. I think
hurdles.
I could see the stock being 45 cents so fast, make your head spin.
Well, what makes you say that? Your spinning head. That's comforting.
OSO.
OSO. OSO.
I think we got to talk about some of the, we've been sort of talking about marijuana space. We're going into PDAC, and we did an interview while you were away with Gordon McKinnon.
Yes.
And
I know Gord.
Yeah, his father
was in here the other day.
World renowned for finding hemlo.
Yes.
Yeah, and that stock today, it took out a recent high. It's now over 40 cents. And I believe, and this was mentioned in an interview, Rob McEwen's a major shareholder already. His name's plastered over a few hospitals.
Yes.
A few other guys too.
Eric Sprott.
I don't think Eric's involved in this one, but
no.
Rob Cudney. Cudney, who's made a fortune in this game, sold a mine for $1.2 billion.
$1.2 billion?
Yeah.
That's too low. He gave it away.
Yeah, he gave it away. And a few other major shareholders. Management owns 17%. There's no paper. If you blow on this one, it's going to move.
Really? Just blow on it, it'll move.
There she goes. Just look at it. Let's get the chart. Let's not. I do own this one, so.
Oh, full disclosure.
Full disclosure. And CORE is the symbol, and they're drilling as we speak.
No.
As we speak. Yes.
They're drilling.
Say it ain't so.
Drilling.
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 Yeah, and this is look at this. Look at this thing. Okay, just a minute. There's the 1-year chart. That's a 1-year high today, folks. This is an A, and he said it on the show. This is an AMX lookalike.
AMX lookalike.
Like terms of, you
Core.
know, CORE. I think tomorrow when you go in for the OSO, buy a little CORE for yourself too.
Yeah.
Just saying. Well, I'm not saying to the
That's a good
viewers.
idea.
Talking about you.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Thanks, Ed.
You beat me.
Is that a tip?
Tip.
If I beat you, what are you talking about? You forgot to disclose that you participated in a 28-cent cross a week ago. Boy, oh boy. See? Trying to hook me right on the show. Right on my own damn show.
So it's now 42. We did a little cross at 28. 14 over 28. Last I checked was 50% increase.
That's a 100% increase.
No, 14 cents on 28's 50%.
100.
14 and 28 is 100.
14 and 14 is 28. I thought you said I went up 14 cents
14
from 14 cents.
from 28. 14
14 cents.
14 on 28 is 50%.
Boy, oh boy.
What's 3 over 6? 100% or 50%?
3 over 6?
Yeah.
3 divided by 6?
Yeah.
3 divided by 6,
Yeah.
0.5.
Yeah. What's 14 divided by 28?
0.5.
Thank you. Okay, next.
That's the logic here? Wait, didn't you say that it went from 14 cents
No, it
to
went
28?
from 28 to 42.
And that's 14 on 28 is 50%.
Yeah.
So if it goes up from 14 cents to 28 cents, it's
That's
doubled
a double.
in price.
That's a double.
That's 100%.
Yeah, but it didn't go from 14 to 28. It went from 28 to 42.
What, never went from 14 to 28?
Well,
how is that possible? It just went from what?
Okay,
it started at 0 and went from 0 to 28? Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, boy, oh boy.
Boy, oh boy.
Boy, oh boy.
You know, it's too early. 410 it says here.
410.
410, CJRN, Niagara.
You know what?
And did you ever go pet the deer at Marineland and Game Farm in Niagara Falls?
Pet the deer.
Yeah, pet the deer. They got a petting zoo there. You buy a bag of deer food and you go and feed the little deer, and while you're feeding them, you pet them. No? That's a great.
No, I've never done that.
You don't like animals?
I wish now I waited for this moment to tell my famous deer joke. But I think I've already told it.
I don't know what deer joke you're talking about.
What did the female deer say to the male deer as they lay down to go to sleep at night? Good night, dear.
Oh boy.
That's a true story.
That's a true story. I didn't know deer could talk.
Okay.
All right. Well, it looks like we're going to jump the schedule here a bit, Ed.
What's more expensive, beer nuts or deer nuts?
Beer nuts.
Yeah, because deer nuts are under $1.
Are beer nuts under $1 too?
Deer nuts under $1.
Anyways,
Jesus.
Taking the intellectual content of this conversation up in the next segment is going to be Greg Guyatt. He's the Chief Financial Officer of CannTrust. But first, this little clip.
CannTrust Holdings Inc. is a federally regulated licensed producer of medical and recreational cannabis in Canada. Founded by pharmacists, the company serves more than 63,000 medical patients with its dried, extract, and capsule products. CannTrust has established its international footprint through a strategic partnership with Cannatrek Limited in Australia and a joint venture with Stenocare in Denmark. The company has also partnered with Breakthrough Beverage Group through Kindred Canada for recreational distribution in Canada. CannTrust has research partnerships with McMaster University in Ontario and Gold Coast University in Australia to study the use and efficacy of cannabis. CannTrust Holdings Inc. is listed on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol CTST and on the Toronto Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol TRST.
And Greg Guyatt is here, CFO of CannTrust Holdings Inc., trading on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol CTST.
Correct.
And TSX under the symbol TRST. Greg, it's interesting. They've got CEO on my sheet here, but you're still the CFO.
No,
correct?
That's right. I haven't gotten a promotion since I started 6 days ago.
Okay, good. Greg, what can you tell me in way of an update for CannTrust?
Well, I'm really excited to join the company, first of all. I think we're really focused on international expansion right now, and we've recently changed our leadership team a little bit, expanded, added Ian Abramowitz to lead our global investments business. So that's really a big part of the focus, expanding internationally.
Okay. One of the questions that people are always asking me about CannTrust, and I have to say I don't really know, is there was quite a solid relationship with Apotex that was, sort of created some expectations in the marketplace. Yeah. What is the status of that relationship, and is it going to be part of the mix going forward?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I just joined the company 6 days ago, so I don't know all of the details to the current status. Okay. But yeah, we do have an arrangement with Apotex, and we're continuing to work with them. Hopefully, we'll be able to announce something there soon.
Mm-hmm. So, in view of the fact that you're probably new to the company, do you know what's going on with the applications for the expansions down in Pelham?
No, I don't have any recent updates beyond what we've already said publicly on that.
Oh, okay, great. Then what are the main financial catalysts that we should be looking for 2019 as shareholders?
Yeah, I think we started with the foundations of medical for our business, so we had strong growth there to begin with. Going forward, with legalization of rec in Canada, we think that's going to continue to be a big driver for us going forward, as well as medical in our international markets.
Right. Okay. So does the company remain focused primarily on medical, or a sort of equal mix of medical and recreational?
Yeah, no, it's definitely both. I mean, medical is a real foundation to our business, focusing on science and innovation on that side, but rec is clearly a huge opportunity as well, and we expect that to become a much bigger part of our business going forward in Canada.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you then, as a CFO coming into the cannabis space, one of our frequent guests is a forensic accountant who is roundly critical of the accounting methods employed in the cannabis space. So his big beef is that the use of biological assets to create what essentially amounts to a negative cost input is misleading to the general public. What do you say to that as a CFO?
Yeah, well, I can't change the accounting rules. Right. The IASB has set biological asset accounting in a certain way. We want to present our financial results in a way that people can understand them, but obviously we have to work within the framework that the IASB has set for us. So while I think a lot of people don't believe it makes a ton of sense, but that's what we have to work within. So we want to report our results in a way that obviously complies with those regulations, but at the same time add the color that investors need to actually understand what's going on.
Sure. What excited you most about the prospect of working with CannTrust?
Yeah, CannTrust is such a dynamic company, and the industry is incredibly dynamic as well. And really, when joining any company, it's about joining a fantastic leadership team. And CannTrust has that in spades. With Peter Aceto joining in the fall, brings a significant amount of credibility to the company, and also the existing leadership that's there as well really has a ton of experience and really innovative thinking for how we're going to drive the business forward.
Right. Okay. Any comments as to what the main catalysts are going to be for 2019 that we can look for?
Yeah, like I said, medical continues to be a foundation for the business. CannTrust was founded by pharmacists, so that's naturally the foundation from where the business starts. But rec is continuing to grow. We expect that to be a bigger part of our business going forward.
Okay. Great. Well, that's awesome. Let's leave it there for now, Greg. We'll come back to you soon, and wish you the best of luck with your new job. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks very much for having me. Appreciate it.
We're going to pull up a chart now of CannTrust, and CannTrust has been one of the best performers of the year so far, and we've been lucky enough to participate in that lift repeatedly, both myself and some of the other folks here at the Midas Letter stable. So it's actually looking like, look at that chart. That is just about as best case scenario as it gets. Strong out of the chute right from the, from December 21st in 2018, which is where all the cannabis stocks really bottomed. That was it's just been on an upward trajectory that has only started to sort of soften a little bit. Just had a couple of weekdays as we speak. What do you think of CannTrust?
I think if you have a weekday, you should have it someday that's not on the weekend.
Someday over the ocean. No,
Get
that's
it?
wrong.
Weekday.
As opposed to a weekday end.
Yeah,
Boy, that's weak.
It's hard to have a weekend day. Week.
That would make you weak.
I'd be weak.
Okay, let's see. Who else is talking to us now in the
let's get some
in the comment sphere?
Viewers.
Dave Combs likes CannTrust. He says, Neurosis 333, not a promising handle. I started a position in Helix today. $1.55 US in the morning. Helix, never heard of that one. Why don't you look that one up, Ed? Helix in the US.
Ticker?
Well, we're not sure.
Okay, let me guess.
Let's see if our system can figure it out. Helix. Oh, that's hiccups. Helix.
Our system can figure it out? Okay, so Helix. Now, what is Helix?
I don't know. Helix
it's a band,
is
isn't
a helicopter-shaped... it's a shape. Throwing down a shape. So let's see here. Voltaire says he'd rather hear from the CFO than the CEO. I'd rather hear from both.
But not at the same time.
No, because then they'd be interrupting each other.
Yeah, a good CEO is worth their weight in gold.
Near cannabis.
So what kind of company is Helix?
I don't know. Waiting for you to tell me.
Okay.
Let's check it out.
Check it out.
Check it on out. Let's see, I gotta pull up, every time I try to open my quote stream, it makes me want to gag.
Is that a healthcare company?
Yeah. Okay. Now, new evidence is suggesting that liquor sales are going to suffer at the hands of cannabis stocks.
Yeah, I buy that.
You do? Well, yeah. What do you think Sean has to say about that?
I've always thought that a drink and a joint went hand in hand, but a new study is suggesting that might not be the case. The study found that alcohol sales have decreased in states that have legalized medical marijuana. Could this be a trend that crosses the border? I met with Danny Walker, the general manager of the Pint Public House, who actually pours a pretty mean Guinness.
The legalization of cannabis has improved tourism in general. Therefore, we're getting better guest count, therefore selling more alcohol. Even alcohol per guest hasn't gone down at all. If anything, it stayed pretty neutral.
Michelle Baggio was part of a research team that used retail scanner data on purchases of alcoholic beverages across a number of U.S. counties to study the link between medical marijuana laws and alcohol consumption.
We look at 14 states that legalize medical marijuana because the availability of the sales data is for the period that goes between 2006 and 2015. In that time period, there were 14 states that legalized medical marijuana.
So what were the findings?
And we found that the sales of alcohol in counties that are in states that legalize medical marijuana were about 12% lower than sales in counties in states that did not legalize medical marijuana. And the effect seems to be stronger for wine than for beer. Sales for wine decreased by 21%. Sales for beer decreased by around 12%, a little bit more than 12%.
I think the biggest impact that will happen will be towards the LCBO beer store. Anybody that's selling alcohol for the consumption of at-home use. Cannabis usually it sparks an appetite. So one way or the other, we're going to have them coming in, but will they buy alcohol? That's yet to be seen, I think.
In Canada, a cannabis survey recently discovered about 4.6 million, or 15% of Canadians aged 15 and older reported using cannabis in the last 3 months. That was a similar percentage to what was reported before legalization. These numbers only reflect what is currently legal for purchase. As of right now, the only legal cannabis products available in authorized retail stores are dried cannabis, cannabis oil, and seeds or plants for cultivation. When concentrates like edibles become available in the fall of this year, it will be interesting to see how they affect overall cannabis sales, and if the growing cannabis industry does in fact pose a threat to Canada's multi-billion-dollar alcohol beverage industry.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see. For Midas Letter Live, I'm Sean Cookson.
Yeah, I see that you've handled that brewski with aplomb.
Yeah, oh, I can handle a beer.
You feel comfortable in a bar, don't you?
Yeah,
Like,
I think
you know your way around, right?
Yeah, I know my way around. Yeah.
Yeah, you know how to order, and you're not embarrassed to. You don't make many mistakes when you're ordering.
No. Well, it's just
Practice.
taking a glass, putting it up to your face. It's pretty easy.
Are Canadians big drinkers, generally speaking, in the world? Like,
well, they rank 40th actually in the world, which is 4 points up from the U.S., who ranks 44.
So we drink more per capita than Americans?
Than the Americans, yeah.
That's interesting.
You find that surprising?
Well, you know how many countries there are in the world?
A lot.
There's a lot more than you think.
Don't put me on the spot here.
I think there's 192.
Really?
Yeah.
Can somebody Google that?
Let's get the control tower on this one. All along the West Tower. So 40th. I know.
And Lithuanians,
Germans are up there.
Number one.
Lithuanians, small country
in the world, worldwide.
near Poland.
Yeah.
I think that whole eastern bloc there. I think they're all Russians are big drinkers, right?
I'd have to say so. Yeah.
Yeah. So is marijuana going to put a dent in this? Do they seem concerned or?
I think it's inevitable, really. But
it's a lot cheaper.
It's cheaper. It's different. But I think once, like I keep saying, when concentrates come into the game later this year in the fall, I think we're going to see
like edibles.
Yeah, edibles and oils, and I'm not sure exactly what they're going to be running out with, but or rolling out with. But I think we're going to see an upsurge then, and I think people will be more inclined to maybe test out cannabis if they don't want to smoke it. But it's also, the stats aren't really in yet. We have one place in Ontario that we can access cannabis, So we don't have any stores like in the States. We don't have edibles like in the States. So, I think they're getting a lot more revenue at the moment than Canada certainly is.
There's something about, though, sitting around and having a cocktail, right? Like,
yeah.
It doesn't, it's more, it's just.
You think it's more social?
Yeah, I think, whenever I've sat around and smoked pot with a bunch of people, I find I get a little withdrawn a bit, sort of in my own little world.
Yeah.
Whereas drinking alcohol seems to invite banter, discussion, sometimes a little anger, little fisticuffs.
Well, I've seen both. Yeah. Not the fisticuffs.
No.
But I've seen.
Well, not with me, that's for sure. I'm a bit of a.
No, I've seen both. You're talkative. You're social.
Yeah.
I think both are social. Drugs. They.
Yeah, but I think too. There's THC and there's CBD. The CBD, I think a lot of people, they're opting for that CBD because they like the body buzz, right? They like the body feeling. Whereas if you get too much into the THC, it does like.
Well, CBD doesn't really. I take CBD for my back, and it doesn't do anything to me. I don't think there's any kind of qualities like THC. But you know, both are beneficial, right? So I think there's just you know, plus we also have this stigma in Canada as well, right? I mean, if I was to tell you that I was in jail for 100 years and you and I were strangers, and you said,
if we were in the same cell, we may not be strangers for very long. Just
the mental pictures you put in my head.
I just
mental
it's
pictures.
A little levity there, very little.
Yeah, don't drop the soap.
Don't drop that.
But you know, I think that you know, I think the stigma needs to be lifted as well, and I don't think the government is doing enough. If you're only having a one-stop shop, you know, I think there needs to be a bigger level of variety and also access.
But in any nascent industry, they're trying to find their way. Like they you know, they're saying, hey, let's start off this way and let's move along. I mean, I didn't know the difference between THC and CBD.
Yeah.
You know, a year ago.
Okay, sure. That's yeah. You know, the information is getting out there slowly.
And a friend of mine who likes to partake, he said he likes the idea of going to and he's in BC. He likes going to the state, or not the state, I guess it's province in Canada.
Right.
He likes to go there, and he feels that the quality control's better. He says, I know what I'm getting. Right. I don't feel like it, you know.
Right.
Some shady maneuver behind an alley or something like that, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sure, there's a big scare about what goes into drugs on the streets. I don't think there's been really any difference in the black market. I think they're doing pretty much the same business as they've always done, especially with the access of where it is today. But where are you going? Are you okay?
I'm getting some people are saying I need to move around. I get over here and they can't see me. I got to come back over here. Yeah. Anyway, I really appreciate you doing this work.
Oh, well, thanks.
I think
thanks a lot.
The beer companies are a little jumpy. It might affect beer more than anything, though, if it's going to affect the thing, right? No?
Well, I mean, like they said in the story when I was talking to this manager at a bar, he thinks that it'll probably affect like LCBO beer stores, not necessarily restaurants, because people might say, oh yeah, we'll just
wine with dinner,
stay in, and people are going to go and have well, like he said, you know, you get the munchies. I'm always going to be open for munchies, right? So,
munchy.
But I mean, you know, I don't know about you, but you know, I don't mind having, you know, a spliff and a drink.
And some potato chips.
And some potato chips. Yeah.
Interesting.
That sounds like a date.
There we go. Yeah.
Sounds like a beautiful date.
You know, we got a big week next week, Sean. We got PDAC come rolling into town, and I don't know if you know much about the mining sector, but that's the biggest mining convention in the world, right here in Toronto.
Oh yeah. Oh, nice.
You want to get a room right now in Toronto? Be prepared to pay through
Good luck.
the nose.
I bet.
Yeah, big time money.
And how long are they here for?
It always starts the first Sunday in March at noon.
Yeah.
So you can walk into the convention hall, and there's just row upon row of mining companies with booths telling you about why you should invest in their company. And that starts Wednesday at noon, goes through till Sunday at noon, goes through till Wednesday at noon. So basically, half a day Sunday.
Are you going?
Well, I'm going to be.
Do you
here.
go every year? Is this like your Super Bowl?
It's like the big you know, everybody in the mining industry is here. Everybody. Well, not everybody, but just about everybody.
Right.
You know. So I guess we're at the end of our show again. We got PDAC coming. We learned a lot today about marijuana. We got some winners. We got some losers. I'm Ed Milewski. We got Sean Cookson here saying goodbye.
Toodaloo.